A huge shipment of 2,000-pound bombs from the US have just arrived in Israel, giving the IDF a much-needed boost to their arms supply. Israel is about to start negotiation with Hamas for the second phase of the ceasefire hostage deal, much to the chagrin of several government ministers. And there has just been a huge shift in US policy towards Israel. The question is, will Israel finally be able to finish off Hamas? Stay tuned. I'm Josiah Hilton, and this is the Israel Guys. Israel has just received a huge arms shipment from the United States of America. JNS reported Israel received a shipment of Mk-84 munitions overnight Saturday in a joint operation of the Israeli Defense Ministry and the United States government. The 2,000-pound bombs were unloaded at Ashdod port and transferred to Israeli Air Force bases. The munitions shipment that arrived in Israel tonight, released by the Trump administration, represents a significant asset for the Air Force and for the Israel Defense Forces and serves as further evidence of the strong alliance between Israel and the United States. Now, notice how this press release from the JNS said that these weapons were released by Trump. That's because Israel had purchased these bombs from the US towards the beginning of last year, but Biden suspended the delivery of these weapons last May to try and stop Israel from going into Rafah, telling CNN civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways which they go after population centers. Thanks, Joe Biden. When Trump announced on January 25th of this year, after he got elected, after he was inaugurated, that he was releasing the arms shipment to Israel, he was asked by reporters why he was releasing the bombs. He replied simply, because they bought them. I think that's absolutely brilliant, using short, simple truths to shut down the anti-Israel media. Well, the deadline that Trump gave to Hamas came and went on Saturday, and only 3 Israeli hostages were released by Hamas, and still, hell has not broken loose on the Gaza Strip. After President Trump gave his ultimatum to Hamas last week, Hamas backtracked on their previous statement that they were indefinitely delaying the release of any more hostages and said that they would now continue with the agreed-upon hostage deal. Wow, it seems like Trump's statement was working. The Israeli government then eased up on Trump's ultimatum and said that if 9 hostages, who are still expected to be alive in this release deal, were not released by noon on Saturday, then Israel would restart their systematic destruction of Hamas in Gaza. Then, sadly, Israel further eased up on the ultimatum by Trump, saying that if only 3 hostages were released, the ceasefire would continue as usual. Now, while many people are blaming Israel's leaders for going easy on Hamas, I want to point out a few things that might account for why Israel went on with the deal business as usual. Number 1, Israel thinks that Hamas doesn't know where all the hostages are and therefore physically can't release them all at once. Number 2, Israel thinks that Hamas wouldn't even release one hostage from such an ultimatum anyway. And number 3, the Israeli public has been very much moved by the release of the hostages, that Israel wants to try and release as many as possible before they have to resume fighting in the Gaza Strip. Something that is fascinating that many people don't realize is the major shift in language and in manner of America's new administration towards Israel. Previously, U.S. administrations have been supportive of Israel, but at the same time, telling Israel what to do, and then if Israel doesn't do that, pressuring them through the delay of arms deals to Israel, like Joe Biden did back in May. These last few weeks have shown that President Trump's current attitude towards Israel is to 100% fully back Israel's actions. Trump, too, has been telling Israel that what they should do in Gaza, but ultimately leaving the decision up to Israel's leaders. Trump himself acknowledged that his ultimatum to Hamas was his own idea and how to help the situation, saying that he was speaking for himself and that Israel could override what he said. Now, this is a huge shift in American policy towards Israel, and even, I will say, a big shift from Trump's first term in office when he tried to push through the deal of the century. I think something that may have changed Trump's attitude towards Israel in the recent weeks was the unfiltered October 7th film that Trump watched right before his meeting with Netanyahu several weeks ago. Also, just over a week ago, when the starved hostages were released, seems to have made an impression on him, seeing these guys come out looking like Holocaust survivors. Nevertheless, it seems he is now taking a no-nonsense approach to dealing with Hamas, which obviously is the right way to go. We'll be right back with the rest of the show in just 1 second. But first, with the challenges Israel is facing, I want to share with you the way you can strengthen Jewish families on the front lines of the battle for the land of Israel. Blessed by Israel is a company that brings amazing products of families in the biblical heartland to people around the world. From Israel to your doorstep, enjoy awesome products like coffee roasted to perfection by Agro Cafe, which, by the way, we drink every single day here at the office. Several kinds of delicious honey, jewelry, organic spices, and much, much more, all from wonderful small family-owned businesses in Israel's biblical heartland. Be a part of encouraging and investing in the people of Israel and enjoy high-quality products at the same time. Head over to blessedbyisrael.com to purchase beautiful boutique products and make your impact today. Use code INVEST, INVEST, for $5 off your first order at blessedbyisrael.com, or just click the link in the description below. The government of Israel is now talking about negotiating the second phase of the ceasefire deal. According to Khan News, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich that negotiations on the second stage of the deal with Hamas would not begin without the cabinet's approval. When the Israeli cabinet approved the first phase of the deal with Hamas, the phase that is ongoing right now, Bezalel Smotrich, who is the head of the religious Zionism party, added a stipulation to the approval saying that the cabinet is required to meet again to discuss the deal before negotiating with Hamas, again, before the negotiations for the second phase start. Channel 7 News reported on Sunday, in coordination with U.S. Presidential Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, Netanyahu instructed the negotiations team to leave for Cairo Monday in order to discuss the continued implementation of the first stage of the deal. The Prime Minister's office reported that after the cabinet discussion, the team will receive instructions for continuing negotiations on issues related to the second stage. Now, other Israeli government officials are also hesitant on moving forward with the second phase of the deal. The diaspora minister, Amichai Shikli, said yesterday that he would oppose extending the deal with Hamas in Gaza when it would be brought up for vote in the Israeli cabinet. He said, quote, "I cannot vote in favor of the next victims, whether in Gush Etzion, Megiddo, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Afula, or anywhere else." Shikli also voted against the first phase of the deal that's going on right now, being implemented because of all the terrorists who would be released in exchange for the hostages. He said, quote, "The reason for my opposition was that I understood who the prisoners were that we were releasing in exchange for the hostages. This deal includes the release of 700 terror experts with records of dozens of attacks that killed hundreds of Israelis and wounded thousands. These are the same terrorists responsible for the Second Intifada and for other severe attacks. For me, this deal is reminiscent of the Shalit deal. The commander of Hamas's attack on Kibbutz Be'eri on October 7th was a terrorist released in the Shalit deal." And he's referring to Yahya Sinwar. Shikli's concerns are reflective of the concerns of tens of thousands of Israelis, especially those who live in this area, in the neighborhoods where these terrorists are getting released to, in Judea and Samaria. The question is, how are the residents of Judea and Samaria supposed to live in peace and security if master killers and arch terrorists are being released all across Judea and Samaria, right in their backyards? Yahya Sinwar and the Gilad Shalit deal is the perfect example of what the consequences are for this kind of deal. Hamas knew exactly what they were doing when they took so many hostages on October 7th. Just yesterday, on Sunday, at an Al Jazeera forum, a senior Hamas official called October 7th a historic success. He said, quote, "October 7th is a historic success in which hundreds of people managed to destroy and dismantle the IDF's Gaza division. Hamas's victory is an opportunity in that Israel's defeat is possible, and also a challenge is their readiness and seriousness for such a battle." Now, this senior Hamas leader is claiming, despite all the destruction in Gaza, despite the tens of thousands of terrorists who have been eliminated in Gaza, that the attack on October 7th was a historic success. How can the writing on the wall be any clearer than it is now? This hostage ceasefire deal is just what Hamas wants. Let's hope and pray that Israel's leaders would have the fortitude and moral clarity and courage to do what they need to prevent an attack like October 7th from ever happening again. Don't forget to buy products from Blessed by Israel and get $5 off your first order with our special coupon code INVEST. Link is in the description below. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe and get the conversation going down in the comments below. As always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what is happening here in Israel. We'll be back soon here at the Israel Guys.